want to add more about it. I'm a former EMI scientist. In fact, I'm an IWMI emeritus scientist. I was heading EMI for Africa as a director based in Ouagadougou, in Accra first, and then in Ouagadougou. IWMI is International Water Management Institute. It's one of the 15 CGR centers in the world, dealing only with water. The other ones, maybe you know. Here in Kenya, you have ILRI, which is the International Livestock Research Institute, which is based in Nairobi. Today, I would like to give you some feedbacks of what happened during the World Water Forum. As you know, the Dakar Forum that was held on March 21st March to 26th March 2022, last year, was the 9th World Water Forum. Prior to that, there was 8 times that the forum was organized in the world. Now, let's look at why do we say that the Dakar Forum is not like the other ones. Up to then, anytime people come together and talk about water at a forum, they're just talking about water for domestic supply. They never care about water for agriculture. And maybe you don't know it, but let me tell you, agriculture consumes 70% of the total amount of water consumed in the world. If you look only at domestic supply, it's just 7%, 7 to 10%. So it means agriculture, being the huge consumer of water, was left aside. Now, we know also too that billions of people in the world are running out of water. In Africa, mainly in rural areas. We also know that universal access to water, which is the goal of the SDG 6 in 2030, won't be achieved by all means. The decision was taken that in 2030, there will be water for everyone, everywhere, water for all. We know today that's not feasible. Why? Because of lack of investment. And we need good sum of money for that. Let's look at the global map of water in here in pies. If you look at on the left side, we say 28 countries suffer from regular shortage of water. 80 countries in the world suffer from occasional shortages. And 60% of water resources are shared only by 9 countries. Meaning the rest, I think in the UN, we have 196 countries. So only 9 countries share 60% of that amount of water. Now, the Africa water issue, what we notice is pressure on water is due to the high demand linked to demographic, population growth, energy needs, etc., etc. By all means, you journalists, do you know the meaning of etc.? It's just a joke I would like to make in here. Etc. Yeah, okay, great. I know that the Francophone don't know that. So basically I was testing the Anglophone ones. Okay, thank you very much. Now, as you may see, we have huge problems in Africa when it comes down to water. We have 2 types of scarcity, water scarcity in Africa. In 2050, most of the continent will suffer water scarcity. North Africa, as well as part of Southern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, meaning exactly the Sahel region and the southern part of Africa, South Africa, and so on. What we know also too is in Africa, only 24% of the population has access to safe drinking water, which is very, very low. If you look at the WMO guidelines, you need at least 30 liters of water per capita per day, and we cannot match that. We also know that one of the key elements we have, missing element in here in Africa, is lack of sanitation, which lead us to public health issues in many countries. Now, Senegal was looked at a laboratory for water diplomacy, because Senegal has been involved in water issues since the droughts in the 70s. If you, maybe some of you may not are too young, but in 72, 73, there was a severe drought in the Sahel region, and many millions of people, many thousands of people died from that, and livestock was lost. It was the Senegal River. At one point, you can cross it just walking across. There was no water. In some places, no rain at all during the rainy season. So, what the Senegalese government did then was to engage itself into water diplomacy by bringing together all the countries that are sharing the river basin, the Senegal River Basin, meaning Guinea, Mali, Mauritania, and Senegal, to create what we call OMVS, which is the Basin Organization, which is today looked at the best in the world in terms of function. What does it mean? It means Senegal and the other countries have authority to negotiate on behalf of all the countries and to get loans from the bank, and the countries will pay. So all the investment of water was aggregated, was put together within the basin. That's the best example in the world, and that's the only one today in the world. It's the central OMVS. And then the next step was to go to create another basin organization called the Gambia River Basin Organization. That organization also too is functioning just like OMVS. Today Dakar is the only country in the world hosting two basin organizations. That's a case study for you guys to look at how things can be worked. That's why in 2016, Senegal was heading the Security Council at the UN, and they put on the table the water issue. That's one of the reasons why we were able to hold the World Water Forum in Dakar, the 9th World Water Forum. As you see, where it took place, the first one started in Marrakesh, the 8th one was in Europe, in Marseille, the 9th one in Dakar. By then there was the Istanbul and other places in Kyoto. Now, the forum wanted to be connected to all the water agendas going on in the world. Not to be isolated, but to learn from all the agendas international agendas, like the Sunday Agreement on Natural Hazard and Disaster, the Sustainable Development Goal, the Paris Climate Agreement, the Africa Agenda 2063, but also to what we call in Senegal, Plan Emergent Senegal, the new deal. We can call it new Senegalese deal. Now, what we were trying to do is to have a more efficient forum looking at global and local issues, a forum rooted in the major water challenges, looking at all challenges at all levels, and a forum that plays a role as a catalyst that really bring all these things together. I will move a little bit fast. We got a multi-stakeholder platform. The forum has 4 priorities. The first one was water security, water and sanitation security. The response was in cooperation, as I said, using the example of the OMBS and OMBG, the 2 river basin organizations. The other one, and the third one, which is really new, is response to rural development. How can we use water in rural areas to make them economic centers? How can we use water to develop our rural areas through agriculture, through post-harvest, through transportation, whatever can be done with water in rural areas to improve livelihood and so on. Now, that's the message of the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, His Excellency Macky Sall. We needed to have a strong political statement on the SDG coming out of the World Water Forum. Why? Because we know that by 2030, Africa won't achieve the sustainable goals we put there. So why? Because we didn't invest enough into water. Okay, all right. Several political issues were really taken into account. Consolidating Senegalese leadership into the global water agenda, that was one. Access to water and sanitation as part of Senegal, EU. As you know, the president of Senegal is the chairman of the EU. Last week in Dakar, there was a meeting on water security for food security. I have a presentation I can show maybe this afternoon to give you the challenges Africa is facing when it comes down to food security using water. Without water security, we cannot talk about food security. Forget it. It won't be achieved. And we need food security in this continent. As we know, with what is going on in Europe, everybody is looking for him or herself. Now, the component of the forum, there are 4 components, high-level political segments. Head of states were there, they had their meetings. Head of state and government, as well as head of big institutions like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, These people met in Dakar to discuss about political issues. But we wanted to innovate. We brought in local authorities and the mayors, sometimes village chiefs, and so on, to discuss about issues related to their daily challenges with water. We brought all together into a multi-stakeholder platform. In total, in Dakar, we had what we call Dakar Initiative, which was to bring in the most important projects for the continent. There was a total of 262 from 25 countries in the world, and 71 label project, meaning ready to be financed, and we made that happen. Now, these are the different political segments. As I said, there was the parliamentarians met together, the local authorities met together. And all this is to prepare for the UN 2023. I will go fast, don't worry. Now, together, I guess, we succeeded in organizing a historic World Water Fund because we're just coming out of COVID-19. Why do I say that? It's easy because nobody was thinking that we can bring in to Dakar more than 8,000 participants, most of them coming from outside of Senegal. There was 113 countries present. We have 150 local authorities and more than 400 journalists present at the conference. Well, oh, sorry. I wrote some French into it. But you can excuse me. I'm not bilingual. I'm francophone. Okay, I'm just trying to use some pidgin English here. Okay, all right. So we had 221 sessions organized. We have 92 ordinary sessions, special sessions, high-level sessions, political segment. We have side events and round tables. This is to give you an idea of what was done. The high-level segment, we have all these people who really brought in the message. Some were present, others did it through video conference, including His Majesty, the Japanese Emperor. Okay, the thematic session we have, this is just a recap of what was done. At the end, we have exhibitions on 4,410 square meters. And you have the ideas of how many visitors, what was presented, the exhibition, etc., etc. I will need to go fast. Now, all this is to, we have a youth space. Because when we talk about water in general, we don't account for the youth and we don't account for gender. Most of the time we forget that in Africa, women are the ones really suffering from the water issue because they have to carry water. Young girls can no longer go to school in some villages because the water challenges. They have to go and fetch water from the river or from a borehole located to a long distance from the household and so on and so on. So we try to do that and we look at all those issues, and our objective today is to bring the so-called Dakar Declaration to the 2023 UN Conference on Water. These are the various axes of the Blue Deal. Because we come with the Dakar Declaration, we call it a Blue Deal for water and sanitation, water security and sanitation for all in Africa. Because we think that to get there, we need to look at these four pillars. And the most important one is the fourth one, is to secure adequate funding for drinking water and sanitation. This is where Africa is lagging behind. So we have action plans for ministers, for parliamentarians, for local authorities, and for basin authorities too. Basin authorities is very important because you're aware of what's going on between Egypt and Ethiopia and Sudan about the Blue Nile. So we need to bring all these people together to sit and talk about water and talk about peace, water for peace and development. I'm almost done. We have the youth corps. How can we bring in where decision makers meet, how can the youth be present and get its voice heard? Because we tend to talk for the most vulnerable people of our society, meaning women and the youth, without even knowing what they would like to see. Thank you. This is the post-forum perspective, how we can, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is really to present quick results of the forum. Thank you very much. It looks like, don't forget that the forum was postponed the first time, because it was planned to be held on 2021, and because of the corona pandemic, sorry, then we move it to 2022.
Yeah. So how did you talk about implementing the Blue Deal in just 1 minute? Because from morning people have been talking about the Blue Deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
For implementing the Blue Deal, there is a high-level segment that was created at the that's the highest level, and chaired by the President of Senegal as the President of EU, with the clear mandate to get all the world donors, meaning the World Bank, the African Development Bank, some other institutions, funding institutions, because it was estimated that Africa needs $30 billion per year up to 2030 to solve the water scarcity problem we have. So that's one level. Now there is at the ministerial level. You know, the African ministers of water have a group called AMCA. Okay, African ministers on water. Okay, they meet regularly under the leadership of the EU president. AU, African Union, African Union. They meet every year. They have an agenda on how to move the SDG 6 forward. Then also, you don't have just to look at the ministerial level. Because water is managed, you cannot manage water outside of a river basin. That's what exactly Tobias was talking about. Our unit as hydrologists is the basin. The basin is not only the piece of land you have there. You have human beings, you have upstream, downstream. Sometimes, if you look at Africa, you have 64 rivers that are cross-boundary, meaning shared at least by 2 countries. You cannot do whatever you want because the river crosses your country. You have to think about the other country. That's exactly the issue between Ethiopia and. So basically, those people have to sit together. Also, they are targeted into implementing this bill.
Thank you very much.